Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Commission Breath. Brandon Love here with Tom Moffat. And one of the things we're always looking at in the Commission Breath community is how to make brokers' lives more efficient. And from that, we look at costs as one big piece, but also time, because time is our most valuable asset. And Tom and I recognized in our business that there was something that was wasting a lot of time. So we've cut it out and replaced it with something else. And we've noticed that a lot of other brokers still haven't made that shift. So today we're going to do a deep dive on what that is, share how to implement, and then hopefully you can take away from this a more efficient client journey.
Absolutely. So that thing that we're going to talk about and do a deep dive on is strategy calls. So everyone has their own way of doing it. We are not about to say this is the only and best way to do it. This is just what's worked for us. And we've refined it over the years and we've kind of tweaked the model and embedded different ways about performing the strategy call and different methods of communication. So we're going to do a deep dive into what we do and what's worked best for us. And it's really over the years of doing this, it's actually saved us more and more time as the weeks and days and years go on for us. We're at a really comfortable place with our strategy call process. I don't even know if we can really make any more tweaks because we've just been happy with it so far. So why don't we just touch on, Brandon, like what do we do up until the strategy call? Like maybe just go through that real brief and then we can do a deeper dive on it.
Yeah, sure thing. So let's say you're a new client, lead comes in, you're going to get a link to our calendar. You'll book your discovery call. After that discovery call, that's like a 15-minute phone call usually. You're going to receive a link to the application. And then that's kind of where the in-person times end for me. At that point, I jump over to fully video communicating messaging.
Yeah, I'm actually the same. Now that you say that out loud, it is pretty amazing when you think about like how we can just be in our well, both of us are in our basement actually, basement office, just plugging away and slinging mortgages and really only have to worry about that upfront call. And of course, there's going to be times during the process where you have to hop on calls with clients, like things go south in some files, or you have that client that needs that extra bit of care. But for the most part, I'm the same way. I'll do the upfront discovery call. And from there, it's just updating the budget as we go when clients are looking at properties or if it's a refi we pretty much submit it right away. For me, I offer a second strategy call, but a lot of clients don't take it. So maybe we'll just start with your process because it's a bit different than mine, I think, or maybe it's the same. So let's go over yours.
Cool. So let's say you've submitted your application. I have like a no docs, no talk policy. If you haven't done the application, uploaded your documents, I'm not even going to review it. So everyone knows that going in. Realtor partners, clients, I'm very transparent about it. Just saying that I protect my time and my team's time. If you can't get this done, unfortunately, we can't go forward.
No docs, no talk, as in like after you've had the discovery call, right? Like you've had the discovery call. It's more so like you're not proceeding unless you
Exactly.
have that. Okay,
Yep. So
cool.
you've had your discovery call. I walk you through how the process works, my role in the transaction, get all your details there. It's a very thorough call. And then from there, I'm like, okay, your next step is you're going to get this application link. You're going to go through it, upload your documents there. If you have any hurdles while you're completing it, feel free to reach out to me and my team will help you with that. But from there, we're not presenting rates, we're not chatting strategy, we're not chatting anything until all the documents we need are in there. Once I have that, I don't touch the file at all. I turn on Loom and I record as I'm going through my initial review. So let's say like the GDS TDS is way out of line. I'll explain to the client what GDS TDS is, how it's impacted, and then I go through saying, okay, here's kind of how we could tweak it. Like we could pay down this liability. We could add a cosigner to improve the ratios. We could lower the purchase price amount. All the different things and strategies and tools that we have in the toolkit, I'll show the client a few different ways that way. Then I jump over to their documents. If there's anything like a T4 missing the name, I'll be like, okay, this is enough for me to get started. But when it comes time that you actually find a property, we will need this with a name on it. So I'm setting expectations for future document requests.
So when you're underwriting and you know ratios are out of line, I'm assuming like with your discovery call, you're asking them upfront what they're hoping for a purchase price.
Yeah, and they'll input a purchase price on the application when they're doing it too. You can kind of see their expectations that way. And then it's just managing those. So sometimes people will be like, I want $500,000. It's like, well, you're qualified for 350. That's quite a
Yeah.
jump. You have to then explain why that is, and then show them what they can do to get up to 500 if that's actually what they need. With that same video, I then take the number that would actually work for them, reality today, and I show them a first budget. So it shows the budget, it shows closing costs, so if it's insured mortgage, like insurance premium costs, legal fees, anything like appraisals, everything that way. And I say, okay, when you're shopping, you and your realtor can send me the MLS for the property you're considering. I'll update this budget so you'll know down to the penny what you're looking at. And then that's kind of where I leave it. So if they come back and they say, hey, I can add a cosigner, obviously I'll make those tweaks there. I just send them an updated overview. It's always Loom videos. And the reason I do this is I can do them on my own time. So sometimes I'm banging out Loom videos at like 10:30, 11 at night, just scheduling them to send the next day. And it's infinitely stackable and scalable because I don't have to worry about someone booking in this time on my calendar. I don't have to worry if my kid's home from school sick, like nothing like that. Dog barking, someone coming to the door. It's never interrupting my flow of work. And from a client perspective, they have all of the information they need. They can rewatch it, and a lot of them do because you can see that they can rewatch and get that info that would be overwhelming another way and confusing. And it just adds a lot of clarity for them. Everyone I've given it to loves it.
I didn't realize you did that. So you schedule, like, let's say it's 10 p.m. at night, and maybe that client's up and they receive that email and it's something, maybe they want to call you for a question. You schedule that to go out the next morning, eh? I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, so well, it depends. Like sometimes if it's a client that's like night shift and I know they work night shift and they're like messaging me on their breaks or whatever, sometimes I'll send them like a 10:30, 11 at night email just because it's a little bit of a wow factor that way. You're never going to get that at the bank. But like a lot of clients, I don't want them thinking that, hey, I'm going to call Brandon at dinner time and he's always going to pick up. So sometimes if I can do it, I'll do it then, but then I set it to the next day just to manage the expectations of when I'm actually available for them.
Man, I remember someone told me, I can't remember who it was, but someone in the industry told me they purposely schedule their emails to go out at like 3, 4 a.m. to make it look like they're just like hustling and working all the time, which is
Yeah.
greasy. But
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty much the same way with my process too. I'll do the upfront discovery call, send the application link, get that in with the docs, same as you. And then I don't proceed until we have everything in. And of course, if there might be some back and forth, if they have questions on some of the documents, like I'm not going away. It's just they don't get an actual custom budget or full pre approval until we have everything in. And I actually got the tip from you where if there's something that we need to go over in order to get to where they need to be, I'll do that Loom overview screen recording of their application on the back end. And I find like it really, for them mentally, it takes them out of the dark in terms of what we actually do on the back end because they could be sitting there thinking, like, oh, well, he's not pre approving me for the amount I need. Like, I wonder if like he's just incompetent. Maybe I should go look somewhere else. Maybe I should just get a second opinion. But if you do the Loom overview of the application, they can see the numbers when you're explaining what GDS and TDS is. So I find that's a bit more stickier as well.
Exactly. It totally pulls back the curtain on the process because you and I and everyone in the industry has got this where like I went to my bank, they approved me for 400,000. I want to get 450. Do you mind giving me a second opinion? And quite often the way the banks approve them is correct, but they just didn't explain why things were that way. So they didn't explain, hey, if you pay down the 4,000 you owe on your vehicle, you could actually go up to 450. They don't provide that extra layer of strategy. They just give them the boilerplate answer. And so when you show them, they're like, wow, this is a level of service I didn't get elsewhere. And it's just a very easy way to stand out. You have to look at the application either way. You might as well flip on Loom and learn to talk to your client as you're doing it.
Yeah, and one thing I will say too is when you're in the application, before you record the video and send it out to, let's just say it's a couple, then you want to make sure that they're all okay to see their credit, their liabilities, because I think both you and I have a story we can go over. Like if we've been burned in the past where we shared it early on in our career, and the spouse is like, shit, my wife did not know about that. And now she does.
Yeah, definitely get consent there. I would just say like you can even throw it in your discovery call, being like, "Hey, I'm gonna do a review and do a budget. If it's a couple, are you guys comfortable with me sharing it with everyone on the file?" A lot of the times where you'll encounter this as well is, for example, if like a parent is co-signing, they don't necessarily want their kids to know that they have like $3 million in assets. So they'll be like, can you hide my assets? And you can hide the view on portals like Finmo. But at the end of the day, you do need that application signed. So what I say to them is like, hey, like this is going to add strength to the file, but at the end of the day, we do need to get this signed. So we can either remove them and not show it, or we can just have them sign through. I'm like, most people just click through anyways. They're not reading every page.
Yeah, very true. You're talking about, like, the signed application in the
Yeah.
signing package? Yeah, 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 good point.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're at the client's been pre-approved. We're at that stage. Are you doing a strategy call separately for your clients?
No, so I won't do a strategy call with them unless they request it. What I'll do is I will show them a few different avenues. So someone might come in and say, hey, like I want the 5 year fixed. I'll be like, okay, cool. I'm going to show you the 5 year fix. I'm going to show you the 3 year fix. And then I'm going to show you the variable. Share a little bit of detail about both so that they're informed as a borrower. And then they make the final decision that way. I don't tell people what to take. For certain clients, I will make like a recommendation. Like first time home buyers, I'm like, hey, it's kind of nice knowing your monthly payment for your budget while you're getting used to paying things like property tax, utilities, all these elements. I'm like a 3 year fix is a nice way to get into the rotation of paying that. But you can go variable if you want. Just here's how it works. Here's the nuance of it. And so you have really informed borrowers. I do this all by video as well, for the reason being that I have a record of that conversation too. So a good example of this is during the pandemic. I had a couple come for a refinance. We consolidated a bunch of debts. They took a variable. It ended up going up, as everyone's aware. And they tried to file a complaint against me saying that I hadn't warned them about that this was a possibility. And so I just submitted the 12-minute video I had recorded explaining different options, how it worked, all the details, all the nuance of it, and it was just done from there.
Yeah, from a compliance perspective, the videos are key. I agree with that. And when you're doing that video, is it for the pre-approval where you're going through the different term and rate options, or are you doing it once the file's live?
So usually I will pre-approve people off of like the best rate I can. So I'll be like, okay, you're pre-approved with like the 3 year fix, Scotia, for example. But then when the file goes live, I'll say, okay, if you want this option, this is how your file would have to be tweaked. And I just share that budget screen, jump back to the Finmo application. So they're seeing in real time, okay, if I take the variable like on the application itself, my ratios do change. So for certain people, they can't take it. Everything I'm doing is just being very transparent on this is your options, this is how it works when it comes to your application. And then from there, pick what you want.
Yeah, I'm similar. The only thing I do differently is in the pre-approval video, I'll actually in their budget, I'll have 2 to 5 year fixed terms and a column for 5 year variable, and I'll outline all of the rates there. I won't even dive deep on like here's why you should go for a 3 year or a 5 year, and here's the benefits of each. I just go through one of the columns and I say, hey, this is phase one of your pre-approval. I'm just going to walk through a 3 year fix for you today because it is the lowest rate. But at the time when you do find a home, we're going to review this again with updated rates, and we're going to do a deep dive on whether we should do fixed or variable and what term length.
Yeah, I like that. Another thing I always mention in recording it is when you're putting a rate in there, always tell people like that this is the rate today. This is not necessarily the rate that it's going to be 2 months from now. Because some people will be like, oh, well, you pre approved me at 4.74, but now I'm like shopping for a house and I'm doing all this mortgage research and I can see like Nesto at 4.2. So I'm going to go there. And it's like, well, no, it's just like that 2 months have gone by and rates have changed. Like we can get you the same rate. People aren't always aware of it. Even if you've said it before, you kind of want to constantly remind them that rates are evolving. We're in a declining rate environment because they will just go to the next best thing if they think it's going to save them money.
Yeah, that's a good point. I touch on rate insurance too in the pre-approval. Like I'll touch on it real quick. I'll say the same thing like, "Hey, this is the rate today. Chances are rates right now are going to be declining. We're in a rate declining market. Rest assured, we have rate insurance. Here's how it works." I'll just do like a 1 minute overview of it. And in the client journey drip campaign that I built out, there's a full video that goes out to everyone that's booked a discovery call too. So that way they know that we have their back with the rate insurance. And the idea behind that is that it prevents them from shopping during the early stages too.
Exactly. And what I love about these videos is like they're not always 12 minutes long. Some of them are like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, even 2 minutes if the files like one more or very simple. But like if you think about record this video, send the email. If you get that client on a Zoom call and you open the floor to questions, you could be 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You get a senior on there, you're looking at 45 minutes of them just asking questions and stupid small talk and dumb shit that, like, fuck, doesn't drive the needle on your business at all. So it eliminates all of that and it frees up tons of time in your day, and it makes it so much more efficient for you to go out and prospect for new leads.
And at the end of the day, it's better for the client. I am confident in saying that because let's say it's a couple, they're not always together. So one can watch it at work while the other one's at home. They could watch it on their own time. They could always replay it. It helps them absorb the information better. So I'm a big fan of it. At that point, so let's just say we're done the pre-approval process. Client's gone out, they got their offer accepted. A lot of mortgage brokers, what they do is they have the strategy call before a deal's gone live. Like I used to do that too. And I've switched up probably 2 years ago. I stopped doing that. And there's a counter argument to doing it versus not doing it. So if you do the strategy call before a deal's gone live, you're creating more rapport with the clients, which is cool. You're providing more expertise. You're going over some more mortgage features, but you should have a good grasp as to what their goals are and what kind of mortgage they need from the upfront discovery call and also just from their application and through the pre-approval process itself. Like in my opinion, you shouldn't need to do a separate strategy call before a deal's gone live. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I agree. I think like there's a case to be made for maybe it's stickier. I know some brokers I talked to, they said like they do a discovery call on the phone and then they do a strategy call on like Zoom because they find that face to face video chat makes the client stickier and not going to shop them. I don't know about that. I feel like there's people that are loyal and there's people that shop you, there's people that trust you, and there's people who don't give a shit if they trust you or if it's going to save them money. I think it's just human nature and everyone's a little bit different that way. So whether it's stickier, maybe a little bit, but is it sticky enough to make the difference in me having those hours out of my week lost that are prospecting hours?
Yeah, let's say you're pre-approving 20 people a month and you're closing 10 of those a month. You have a 50% closing rate on them. Let's say it's a half hour strategy call for 20 people that you pre-approve. That's 10 hours a month. I would rather lose one or two deals to people not going with me because I missed the strategy call and it's not as sticky. I'd rather lose that deal and have more time freed up to just get more pre-approvals done. That's my thought process on it. And I recently created a hybrid method where essentially, if I'm sending out a pre approval, they found a home, offer accepted, deal goes live, I'll send out my confirm lender strategy email. So this is my second phase to this is I do a separate video once the deal's gone live and I'll go over what we've already done but in more depth of fixed versus variable, the term options, the lender options. I have a separate tab in the budget that shows lender options, and I'll go through their top 2 to 3 lenders. And it sounds like a lot, but this is like maybe a 6 to 7 minute video. And in that video, at the end, there's a link in the budget that they can click on to schedule a strategy call, which is a Zoom call. And yeah, probably 9 times out of 10, clients don't need it and they don't feel like they need that strategy call. I do have the odd one that does need it, like some engineers or teachers feel like they need that extra step, which is totally cool. I mean, I offer it for people and it's there, but not a lot of people take it.
Yeah, and another layer that we didn't touch on of the benefit of this is when you're recording videos of things that you do all the time, you get dialed in on your scripting as well. So you get really efficient in saying things accurately and intelligently versus like if someone's on a call and like they just throw a random question at you, you're like, oh, like you got to think for a second. It kind of makes you look dumb. I don't know if I'm saying that the right way, but like if I have to like think about if someone asks me a question on like, oh, what is this going to do to X amortization if I do this prepayment? I'm like, oh, well, I would want to map this out on the calculator, but I'm not going to sit there and do this on the screen with you. Versus if they ask that question in an email, I do the calculation, then I turn on the record, and then I explain how the calculation is done. It just comes off way cleaner than just sitting there and letting them come at you. You're in control of the conversation and the journey a lot more.
Yeah, you definitely feel a lot more comfortable doing these day in, day out, these videos, and you're more prepared for them. If you needed to, if you messed up, you can just literally hit replay or re record on the Loom button and you're good. You could just start from the beginning. So I'm a big fan of that too.
100%. And like your ums and ahs, you can turn on the Loom AI and get rid of all that shit if you wanted to. So there's a lot of features that make you sound smarter than you are. And with the podcast. We have that with Nikki, who edits a lot of the dumb shit we say. It's like that filter, but for your client facing side as well.
Well, yeah, it just happened 30 seconds ago. I had a thought in my head and I forgot about it. So Nikki just edited that out. Thank you, Nikki. But the thought has come back. So here we go. I personally don't do this. If I had more time, I would maybe consider it. And we're kind of going back to that social topic, social media. One cool thing you can do with your videos is if you're recording these videos all the time, you have this bank, this library of content that you can use. So you can go to those AI tools. I'm forgetting the names of them, where it chops up the long form videos into short form. And you can have these as little reels where you're showcasing, like, hey, here's the difference of like a 20% prepayment versus 15, like all that kind of stuff that you're already putting in the video. Here's my rate insurance. You're going to have that as content. So you can chop that up as well. And that's something to be quite honest, I probably won't do it. But if you had the time and you were allocating more of your time vested into social media, it could definitely be something for you.
All right, last piece I will add to this is you're standing out a lot from a generic bank mortgage. Like I bought a cottage in the spring. You guys all know this if you're listeners. And I went to move money from RBC for my corporate account. And then they were like, oh, we're going to quote on the mortgage. I was like, all right, whatever. Just, I want to see your process. And it was like nothing compared to what we do. Like our process is so much better. The only thing they could compete on was rate. And so recognize that you're providing a lot of value and you are standing out in doing these different videos, different budgets, and all this stuff for clients. And this is a really great opportunity to ask your clients if anyone else in their network is looking for a pre approval, shopping, or coming up for renewal. This is a big ask that a lot of us forget to do when we miss out on capturing a lot of deals from people.
Yeah, and here's a little tip too. Asks are easier when you do it over video. Might
Yeah,
not be as effective, but if you're afraid to ask it over the phone, like, hey, who do you know that can use help? Or hey, can you give me a Google review? If you're scared to ask, just do it over video. I do it all the time and it's a lot easier. Conversion rate's probably less, but at least you're doing it.
exactly. It's better to win a few than not do the ask at all.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in this week. So, a quick recap: add video in your strategy call, use the video to save time in your schedule. It will make your business that much more scalable. And it also is better for the clients because they can rewatch and re engage with it. So, use video to answer questions and allow that to kind of steer and guide your client journey. If you find there's people old school in the industry who might benefit from this, please share the episode, drop us a review. It would be really appreciated. And we will catch you next week.